Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to explore the mindset of David Goggins, a guy who's often called one of the toughest people on the planet. But this isn't just about his story. It's about the mental tools he built through unbelievable hardship and how we can use those same tools to unlock our own potential. This right here, this single idea, is the core of everything we're about to talk about. It's a huge warning against getting too comfortable. Goggins is basically saying that our natural desire for comfort is the very thing that stops us from growing. It's a really powerful and honestly kind of uncomfortable place to start. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First up, we'll meet the man himself, David Goggins. Then we'll get into the pain that actually created him. After that, we'll unpack his mental toolkit, which includes that famous 40% rule. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at how you can take all this and apply it to your own life. So who is this guy, David Goggins? I mean, if you just look at his resume, the list of his accomplishments, it seems almost superhuman. And that's exactly why his story is so compelling. The range of these achievements is just staggering. Get this, he's the only person in U.S. military history to complete SEAL training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He's run over 60 ultramarathons, and these are races longer than a marathon. We're talking 100 miles or more sometimes. That includes the Badwater 135, which is a 135-mile race on foot through Death Valley in 120-degree heat. Oh, and just for fun, he once held the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. But believe it or not, this incredible list of wins is not where his story really begins. Now, here's the thing, and this is maybe the most crucial part of his whole story. Goggins wasn't born a warrior, not even close. In fact, he was the complete opposite. His extreme mental and physical toughness was literally forged in the fire of extreme adversity. I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows the staggering arc of his transformation. His childhood was filled with trauma, from an abusive father to constant racism and a learning disability that left him barely able to read. By his early 20s, he was working a dead-end job spraying for cockroaches on the night shift and weighed almost 300 pounds. Then he saw a documentary about the Navy SEALs and just decided that's what he was going to do. He had to lose over 100 pounds in less than 3 months just to qualify, and then he failed Hell Week twice. But he came back a third time with broken shins and got through it. This wasn't a gift, it was a choice he made through just pure, unbelievable will. And that right there, that was the big switch. He made a conscious decision to stop blaming his past for where he was. Instead, he reframed every negative thing, every piece of pain, as fuel. As he puts it, whatever is in front of you becomes fuel for your metamorphosis. He literally turned his pain into his power. So Goggins didn't just power through all this stuff on sheer grit alone. He actually developed these specific mental models, like a toolkit to systematically build his resilience and beat his own mind's desire to just take it easy. Let's break down 2 of his most powerful tools. First up, you've got the accountability mirror. And listen, this is not a feel-good self-love exercise. It's about being brutally honest with yourself. He would look in the mirror and just own his reality. If he was overweight, he'd write, "You're fat," on a Post-it. If he wasn't smart enough for a test, he'd write that down. The point isn't to shame yourself, but to stop making excuses and confront the straight-up truth. Because only when you accept exactly where you are, can you make a real plan to attack your weaknesses and change that reality. The second tool is the cookie jar. So imagine a mental jar where you store every single one of your past wins and every obstacle you've ever beaten. And this isn't just about big trophies. It's remembering that time you finished a tough project, or learned a new skill, or even just got through a really hard day. When you're in a moment of extreme pain and your mind is telling you that you can't go on, you mentally reach into that cookie jar. And this is exactly how it works in the moment, when your brain is just screaming at you to quit. You pause, you open the jar, you remember a specific time you won, you feel what it was like to push through that struggle. That memory is proof that you're resilient, that you've been through hell before, and you came out the other side. It's a strategic reminder to your brain that you've got a track record of success, and that gives you the fuel to take one more step.
All right, let's move on to his most famous concept, the one you've probably heard of. This is arguably the absolute cornerstone of his entire philosophy.
Seriously, think about it for a second. You're at the absolute end of a brutal workout, or a super long day of studying, or a really hard project at work. Your mind and your body are screaming that you're done. You've given it your all. There is nothing left, right? Well, according to David Goggins, at that exact moment when you feel completely gassed, you have only tapped into 40% of your true capability. This is the 40% rule. It's a mental framework built on the idea that our brains have a governor, like a protective mechanism that is always searching for comfort and is fed by our insecurities. It's that little voice in your head that says, hey, this is too hard, or you should probably rest, or you might get hurt. It tells us to stop long before we're actually at our limit. The only way to get to that other 60%, that huge reservoir of our true potential, is to push through that first wall of pain. And this quote just nails the application of the rule perfectly. Most of us stop when we feel tired. Goggins is saying we need to redefine our finish line. The goal isn't to push until you feel tired. The goal is to push until the job is actually finished. That's where the real growth happens. So, what does this all mean for you and me? Goggins' story isn't just a memoir to be admired from afar. He means for it to be a direct challenge to every single one of us. The key takeaway is this. To build what Goggins calls a calloused mind, we have to intentionally and regularly do things that suck. Think about it like callousing your hands. If you never lift anything heavy, your hands stay soft. But if you work with them every single day, they develop calluses, tough skin that lets you handle more work with less pain. The mind is exactly the same. By consistently stepping out of your comfort zone, you teach your brain that discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's a signal that you're getting stronger. And when you boil it all down, this whole journey, it's all internal. It's about taking control of that voice in your head. Is it going to be the voice of that governor telling you to quit and be comfortable? Or is it going to be the voice that reaches into the cookie jar, remembers what you're capable of, and pushes you past that 40% wall? Mastering that inner conversation, that's the entire game. And so we end with the same question Goggins asks at the very end of his book, a question he wants you to ask yourself. What if? What if you could achieve more? What if everything you've accomplished so far is just your 40%? What if the real you is waiting on the other side of all that suffering? What if you didn't quit?